Welcome back to Retail Talks. As always, you are with me, Christina, and Darko Pavic, CEO of Fiscal Solutions. Technology is moving fast, but today we are not talking about how to use AI. We are talking about who controls it. Darko, are you ready for today's big topic?
Oh, yes, I'm ready because I love this topic. Very controversial. And I think we could really discuss lots of things. And it could be very heated discussion, let's call it like that. But I hope to keep it non-political.
I agree with you totally. So AI is not just for technology fans anymore. It has become a huge political topic. So Darko, what do you think? How did we get here? Why is AI suddenly about that politics and the strategy, of course?
I think it's not difficult to explain that. I will jump into this topic in a second. But just before we go into this more political area of this topic, tell me, please, are you afraid of AI actually?
I can't say that I'm afraid. I see all the good things that AI is giving us, but again, in some views of AI, things can be scary. For example, I don't know, my kids, for example, will they know how to write an essay, a letter, something like that? So AI brings us a lot of questions that we need to be prepared for, but we need to know how to use it, of course, in a good way.
Very nice answer. So actually, I am a little bit afraid because I think that the people are losing control of it, because it's happening somehow, somewhere. The new things are just popping up. Suddenly you have a new model. Suddenly you have a new usage of a certain model. Suddenly you have even military weapons or whatever, which are AI-driven, self-controlled or whatever. So to be honest, I'm a little bit afraid of direction that we are moving into. And one of those directions that I don't really like is what is happening now in the political arena towards AI. And this is now coming back to your question, why is it getting so political? I think everything was fine as long as AI was just a tool. So everybody was keeping the AI as a tool used by the nerds, technical guys, developers, software companies. And as that was the picture that we all had, everything was fine. But then suddenly, the value created by AI got much bigger. So you could use it to increase the productivity. You can use it to do, I don't know, better automation. You can use it even for the weapon systems, military, for the entire energy sector in the countries, and so on and so on. And as soon as the governments saw that, they saw how powerful that technology is, they understood that it's not just a tool, it's actually infrastructure of the country. And it can help you either to grow, or it can create certain risks if somebody else had much more powerful tools that you have, technologies. So at that moment, the everything changed. So from that moment on, the governments are fighting to control it. They want to keep it under the control, to keep the access to that technology under control, and to, at the end, to generate the benefits for own countries and to protect the areas where they see that it's maybe security topic, national security topic. So I understand it totally. And it's nothing strange. It's happening because the technology is getting very, very powerful. And now the people are learning, actually, I see it as a learning process, how to live with that and how to arrange the country and the politics and everything around that. You know?
Yeah, I understand. And tell me, where do you see governments influencing AI the most right now?
Yeah, it's actually very simple to explain it. There are, I think, three areas. On one side, they are trying to regulate how do you use it. So they are creating laws and rules telling you and the companies, if you use the AI, please do it like that. Without please, do it like that. And I think this kind of laws and rules are very common, especially in EU. European Union is very good in this kind of laws and regulations. So we see a lots of rules related to the, let's say, regulation of the AI usage. On the other side, we see also so many new rules and ideas and concepts around access to the technology. The latest example is actually the reason why we started this episode today. It's happening in US, where you can see how the governments are trying to control who is accessing the AI and how is it accessed. And the third area, which I think it's very common in the moment, I call it strategical independency. So the countries are developing own AI strategy where they want to keep the AI on their own national level. So they want to avoid dependencies to other countries and other AI-based infrastructures. And this is smart, of course, because if you let some kind of crucial processes, country-specific processes, to be in the hand of the other country, it's a simply risk for your own national security, economies, and so on. And that's why they're defining the local strategies.
But I mean, do you think this is possible?
Yeah.
To just limit the access of the AI?
It is possible. So first, AI is nothing else than technology. So we should understand that. And then we can search a little bit in the history, which country or region already did that kind of limitations related to the technology. If we check the situation in China, you will see that you cannot use lots of tools, Western tools, in China. They created own ecosystem just with own technologies, with local everything, data and tools and whatever, and you cannot access the tools which are outside the country. So this is the way to limit, let's say, the access of the country and the people in the country towards other side or from the other side. So that's why it is technically possible. The question is only, does it make sense? And what are the advantages or disadvantages? I don't think it makes sense. I'm not in favor of any kind of control of that kind of access to certain technologies. I would make it free, available for everyone. Just think about the countries that are not that rich, which are poor, which don't have enough economy power to develop own infrastructures. What will happen with them? So that's why limiting, I don't like it. Controlling it, I don't like it, but I understand the reasons why it's happening. And it's not that strange. It's logical.
But again, it could be for security reasons, but maybe also some economic competition.
It is always money on behind. So even if somebody is telling you it's a security point, certainly is, of course. There are lots of national security topics around that, very important one, of course. But at the end, there is always economical target or reason behind that. So it's not just security. It's much more than just a security topic, I'm sure.
Yeah, me also. And also, do you think business leaders even realize how much they already depend on AI every single day? I mean, every business, every person that I know is using AI. And when we watch on the retail perspective, that is a big thing.
It is. So I will answer this question, and then I want to come back to the reason for this retail talk so that we create a complete picture, let's say, for everyone. First, are the businesses actually aware of the dependencies which they have? Unfortunately, they are not. But the reason is not because they're not smart enough or they don't understand the technology. The reason is because the AI technology is mostly hidden under the surface in certain tools that we are anyway using. If we think on retailers are using, for example, point of sale systems. More and more point of sale solutions have AI embedded. And the retailer even don't know which AI model is actually used in the POS. Or if you think about fraud detection, lots of solutions are very good in the fraud detection, but the retailers are not sure, and they even don't know which AI model is in behind. So that's why they are even not aware of dependencies that they have through the technology providers, technology partners, and solution which they are using. And I think this is one of the biggest topics and one of the major tasks that retail should have. And that is to create transparency, to understand all the tools and all the areas of the usage of AI usage, and then to understand which models are used, what happens if those models are not there. Can they switch the models to another one without losing the solution and the power of the solution? Is there any fallback strategy in case that somebody turn off the switch? And these kind of things. I think the retailers have to do that. We will come back to the retail topic, but before we go into the more retail-specific things, let me give you a short overview about the history of the events in last 2 or 3 weeks to understand why we decided to create this retail talk and what is actually happening. Beginning of June, U.S. government signed, or president signed, what is the right name of that? So document, execution order, or I'm not sure how they call it, suggesting, let's say, so it's not forcing, but suggesting the companies, to AI companies, to give the government access to the pre-releases of their AI models. So basically the idea is that AI companies should give the government access to the pre-release before it's released to the public, and the government should have a 30 days time to test that release and to decide if it's okay for the publicity or not. This was in the beginning of June. Nobody was talking about that. So I didn't know about that at all, and nobody discussed that because it was not forcing the company. It was like a suggestion. You can do it if you want. But then just a couple of days later, I think it was on 12th or something like that, June, it was Friday, suddenly US company providing very important models. One of them is Claude, for example. 2 others are Fable and Mythos, were just forced, or the company was forced to switch off the 2 most advanced models, the latest models. Can you imagine that? The company is Anthropic, of course. So the government issued an export restriction order and told them, now you are not allowed to deliver your models, AI models, the latest one, the best one, to anyone who is not American citizen, US citizen. So this means even if you are living in US without having the US passport, you didn't have anymore the access to those latest models. And if you're living outside the US, then anyway. So this was the first time that the industry was shocked. We just saw on Friday evening, hey, the base of my infrastructure maybe, because I have it in each and every process in my company, if I'm a retailer, was just switched off. So all the processes are suddenly not smart anymore. They are probably running, but they are not smart anymore. So they have problems. I cannot run maybe even my business. So this was the first event which happened and which was really, really big issue. Couple of days after that, OpenAI wanted to make their latest GPT model called GPT 5.6 public, but the government stopped them as well. The government told them, hey guys, I have to check that. No, you should not make it publicly. Wait. Can you imagine that? So Anthropic and OpenAI started discussion with the government to clarify that and to deliver the models to the world. And at the end, the government decided on the Anthropic side to deliver that AI model just to selected companies. It was around 100 companies or something like that. A very similar picture was on the OpenAI side, just for the selected companies. This created new question. Who is selecting the companies that are okay to get the most advanced models. And how are those companies selected? What are the criterias? And suddenly there was a government who was deciding who should do this or that and who should get access or not. But what is very interesting, in the moment as the government restricted the delivery of these two AI models, the governments or the companies on the other side of the planet in Asia started innovating more. There were two companies. One of them is Chipu AI. They released immediately the new AI model called the GLM 5.2, which is very similar to the latest models of Anthropic, with the same cybersecurity threats and features and all these kind of things that were declared as the reason why Anthropic models were stopped and restricted. And even a couple of days after that, the Chinese company called 360 Security, I think is the name, they introduced even more powerful AI model focused on the cybersecurity as well. So this means suddenly we had two new AI models which are as capable as the latest Anthropic and OpenAI AI model, which could hack each and every security system on the planet in a couple of minutes. So does it make sense then to restrict on one side in own country the deliveries because you want to protect, because you need cybersecurity topics and so on? And does it help? Or maybe it creates even on the other side a push to other companies to innovate faster. If we see what is happening in the history, as the US started to limiting NVIDIA chips, H2 chips to China started developing their own. It accelerated actually development of Chinese chips. And nowadays, and this is basically happened yesterday, the Chinese food delivery company, imagine that, food delivery, not AI company, food delivery company developed, they are called Meituan. They developed AI model, unbelievable, called Longcat 2.0, which is the biggest AI model trained on 100% Chinese chips. 50,000 Chinese chips means the basis for everything were used to train that AI model, which is actually on the same level like GPT 5.5, Gemini 3.1. So this is really, really very developed AI model. So we see again what happened if you restrict certain things. Mostly, it has exactly the opposite reaction and opposite. The things are happening that others are innovating more immediately. So this is the reason why we are talking today about that.
One door is closed, but the second is open.
Yes.
Do you think because of all this, companies will start using multiple AI providers instead of relying on just one?
This is a logical idea that everybody would have, but technically this is mostly not really possible. You have to understand that AI models are embedded in the software tools, as I just explained a little bit earlier. And mostly those AI models that you embed in your own tools are provided by the providers of the infrastructure. For example, if we are using Azure as an infrastructure for our software development, Azure as a cloud infrastructure is offering AI model which I can easily interface with and include in my system. I could use other models as well, but it's much easier to use that one. So, and then because I am AI Azure-based company, more or less, products are Azure-based, we developed actually with AI, which are part of that infrastructure. If I would need to switch to another AI model, it would be very difficult. I can, but the efforts which we have to invest in that kind of topics are much, much bigger, and mostly they don't make economically sense. So that's why the retailer would like, of course, to have the possibility to use different AI models, but mostly technically it will be very, very difficult to do that.
Understood. And what does all this mean for stores and brands, for example? Which part of retail will get hurt first? And here I'm thinking about pricing, search bar recommendations. How bad would it be if AI suddenly stops working, for example?
First, we have to understand there is no need for panic. This is important. So the governments are trying to regulate and control. And that's okay. That's happening. That's natural. It's okay.
Yeah.
So the answer that retailers should have is on the strategical level. So they should strategically understand what is happening and define strategies, let's say, to be, let's say, successful in that new environment. So the first, if you don't have AI model because somebody switched it off, don't worry. You still have your features which are in the solution. They are maybe not that smart and not that good and not that fast and maybe not that automated, but you will not stop working. For example, if you have the AI model included in your POS to do certain calculation of the certain discounts, suggestion of discounts, and so on, if you turn off the AI model, you will still have the old way of calculating and suggesting discounts. So you can still operate. It's not that in most situations, it's not business critical. But there are business critical areas as well. And that's why the first step, let's say, which I recommend to the retailers is to analyze own structures, let's say, and use cases that they have related to the AI and to split them in low risk and high risk elements. In the low risk area, this is like using AI for the marketing topics. Nothing will happen if you are not able to write your posts on LinkedIn without AI. You can do it. So it's not business critical. But if you have a business critical topics, like, for example, compliance, which are relying heavily on the AI, this is something that you should focus on. So this is the first step, to divide, let's say, what is risky and what is not risky that much. The next step is, in that risky area at least, to focus on the technology providers that you are using today. And you have to start discussion with them as a retailer. You have to ask them, which models are you using? Can you switch to another model if somebody turn off that model? What does it mean to switch? Do you have a fallback strategy? So the question is directed to the technology providers and less to the retailers. But the retailer should start a discussion with those providers. If you are a retailer and you are buying the new tools and thinking about new tools, you should ask all these questions already now before you implement certain tools. So this means by asking all these questions and by creating the transparency, you will be able to define already now your, let's say, strategy for the future. I'm totally sure that it's not anymore important, not only important, how good is the AI model, which capability it has. It's also very important now, and we see it now through the events which happened. What will happen if you cannot use it anymore? Who is hosting the AI model? In which country is that model hosted? Are there restrictions in that country due to whatever geopolitical topics? And so on and so on. So it's getting more complex to select the right solution, even if it's just POS solution or, I don't know, price control solution or fraud detection or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Darko, for these advices. And what about the good sides? I mean, you told us about advices, bad stuffs, risks. Is there any real opportunity for retailers in all this mess?
Even that is very important to mention. So there is no reason for panic. This is one topic. And another topic, this situation which we have now is not reducing the opportunities which we have. So the AI is getting more capable and better with the time. Mm-hmm. This kind of happenings, events that we had in the last couple of weeks are just pushing the AI to become better. These two companies, for example, from China, both of them released the AI models that I just mentioned as open source. I didn't hear about those companies before this situation happened. So this means they were like popping up suddenly. And the more we have such a kind of situations like today, the more companies we will have, the more solutions we will have, and the better solutions we will have. So the situation in the market may look at the first moment bad because the governments want to control and whatever. But on the other side, it's simply creating much more solutions and better solutions. So actually, the situation was never better. The retailers didn't have more choices than they have today. So it's perfect, actually. Starting with the paid, expensive AI models, which we have, which are very good, of course, from US and partially also now from Europe, all the way to the open source tools coming from China, which are also very, very good. So this means the latest events are not reducing the opportunities created by the AI. It's even opposite. They are creating more opportunities than we had before. So I would still focus on creating advantages for my own business through the AI, but I will simply ask more questions. I will simply better create more transparency in my environment. And one important point, I would dedicate the responsibility to one person to take care of those risks. It would be kind of AI risk manager or whatever, because it's getting too much, there are too many things happening. And if somebody is not focused on that, you will simply miss the things which are happening.
Clear and simple. Thank you, Darko, a lot for sharing your perspective today. And to everyone watching, thanks for your time. Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit follow, of course, and see you in the next Retail Talks. Bye.
Thank you very much. See you next time. Bye.